Welcome back, everybody, to the Minnesota Twins franchise. My name is MrHurriicane. We are going to recap spring training today, as we are getting into season number 2 of the series. Now, for most of these spring training games, I was streaming. I figured I wanted to play a lot of these games, see a lot of the different players, so why not stream? And I may make streaming a part of the series still in the regular season. And if I do that, I will still make sure that the highlights of those streams go into episodes like this. I'm recapping the 2 streams I did for spring training, along with games I played on my own. And then we see the final roster and how everything is shaping up for opening day season number 2. So we're going to kind of go all over the place here. I'll talk about some individual plays, but also the team as a whole. So we see Miguel Sano here, the face of the franchise now, ripping a base hit into left field. It wasn't a double, actually. And then Daniel Palca, who came on strong last year, Rookie of the Month in September, and now I hope that he's our everyday DH in Season 2. We didn't have the most exciting offseason. I wasn't planning on this being a very eventful offseason. The moves we made were to acquire veterans to help fill in gaps on the roster and to make us more competitive than we were in Season 1. Here is Jesse Chavez on the mound, a veteran pitcher who I hope can just be a solid member of the rotation and eat some innings. Well, he had a rough time here against the Red Sox as Jackie Bradley Jr. took him yard, and I believe we gave up more home runs than anybody in Season 1. Now, one of the players I wanted to see most in spring training was our number 1 pick last year, Maxwell Fowler, 18 years old, and he could be MLB ready in the first year of his professional career. It's a very rare situation, and I obviously mismanaged some stuff with the 40-man roster and whatnot in the offseason, so here he is in spring training, although I didn't anticipate him being part of the opening day roster. The first impression of Maxwell was that he had very good control, and he was very productive at getting outs. He's not an overpowering pitcher, and we kind of knew that when we drafted him. You'll see more of Maxwell as the video goes on. But this is a base hit from new second baseman Brandon Phillips, who takes over for Brian Dozier. And I also signed veteran Yadier Escobar, as Jorge Polanco did not play well last year. He hit only .212 at the major league level and didn't even hit well at AAA or at AA. I had to get some more infield insurance. And then we go back to Maxwell Fowler. He's very pitch to contact, it seems, but he does get the strikeout here on Andrew Benintendi on his slider. Then against Mookie Betts, hit to short, tough play for Escobar, and the strong throw gets Betts at first. That was maybe the defensive play of spring training. More Maxwell Fowler. He has 5 pitches to work with, including a sinker, and his strikeout pitches seem to be his slider and sweeping curve. This is a liner into right. It seemed that whenever they made good contact, it was usually hit at somebody. Here is Fernando Romero on the mound as we go into a game against the Marlins. And Romero gets the pop-up here from Giancarlo Stanton. Romero was a player I had very high hopes for going into this year after having a lot of playing time last year at the major league level. However, as time went on, his play did go down, and he had to go down to the minor leagues, where he was again very effective. So it was a big spring for him and the other young pitchers on the team, including Steven Gonzales. We have Yadier Alvarez, along with Jose Barrios. I was hoping to find which of those young pitchers could be part of the rotation to begin the season. I wasn't sure if it'd be all of them. I didn't expect it to be. This is Yadier Rosario into right center field. Of course, a major surprise last year was how good he was at the plate, and he showed a lot of power with 24 home runs. Here is Jorge Polanco, whose offense just was not good last season, but he gets a good line drive into center field to drive home Rosario. I was giving him a chance to win back that starting shortstop position. We have some new faces in the bullpen this year, including Jake Reed, who gets the strikeout right here. We have Buddy Boshears, who seems to be the leader of the bullpen right now. We signed Tom Wilhelmsen, and also have familiar faces like Ryan Presley, Glenn Perkins, and Tyler Duffy. We've acquired a lot of young starting pitching talent, but we need to do more when it comes to relief pitching. Here's the starter we traded Brian Dozier for, Yadier Alvarez, as the bunt from D. Gordon will not get him the infield single. Nice play there by Miguel Sano. Alvarez definitely showed some potential last year, but didn't seem quite ready to be a major league starter, so I wanted to see if in this spring training he would show that kind of ability. Now, I checked the box scores for every spring training game, and Jose Barrios was having a really rough opening, as he was giving up way too many hits, way too many runs, and had a ton of walks. The team overall had a very poor start to spring training. There's a bat throw by Miguel Sano, then a drive out to right field and deep, but it's caught. The hitting was very underwhelming when it came to spring training. I tried to get us a bit more balanced in this offseason by getting Brandon Phillips and Yunel Escobar. I wanted some more contact to go with our power, but neither were really showing off in the spring. Now, we do get a couple extra base hits here. We have Byron Buxton sending one out to left center for a triple, but we weren't having enough moments quite like this. And you'll see all the stats once we get through spring training. Now back to Jose Barrios. You can see his start: 8 innings pitched, a 6.75 ERA, and just 4 strikeouts. I thought he was very good toward the end of last year, and I really wanted him to become our ace pitcher this season. Maybe it was a little ahead of schedule, but he showed so much potential at the end of season 1. His control, though, throughout spring training was somewhat of a concern, and the umpiring was not giving us anything close. Barrios walks a batter here in the first inning, and then a sharp ground ball hit into left field. Already 2-on. Barrios getting into trouble, down 2-0, and then can't locate the changeup, falls behind, and the 3-1 is well inside for an easy take. 2 walks and a hit, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. Then Jose Bautista, as the curveball doesn't get called. Fastball's close, that doesn't get the call. 2-0. Nothing. No offers, no close calls, so a lot of walks here for Barrios. It wasn't all his fault, I thought, but there were still some issues with control I was worried about. Then a base hit up the middle and the game gets a little out of hand very early. Base hit here to the right side, another run comes home for Toronto. Maxwell Fowler came in earlier, began the game very strong once he entered, but he had his issues as well. Gets the strikeout there on the sweeping curve, and goes right back to it to get Jose Bautista with the bases loaded. We would attempt to make a comeback, however, as Miguel Sano sends a high drive out toward deep right field. It does get down, and we weren't sure if it would fall in, so there was the biggest base running miscue of spring training. We only get 1 run, Buxton gets caught here, then I wanted to get Sano to third, and hopefully have Buxton be in a rundown to let Sano get there, and obviously that didn't work. So on to the 9th inning as Eddie Rosario draws a leadoff walk, and we go to Ben Polson then, who drives a hit out to left center field. That gets down. This was one of the best moments of spring training as Ben Polson drives in the tying run in the 9th. We were looking to get something to cheer about here in spring training. So Jason Castro through the middle, it's a slow roller. Polson heading home and in safely for a walk-off winner. Jason Castro, by the way, big surprise in spring training. You won't believe his numbers when I show them later. Here are some more sim games as Fernando Romero did well in 3 innings of work. Then the next game, 5 runs allowed, 6 walks, and 3 1/3 for Jose Barrios. I was really hoping he'd turn his spring around, but it just wasn't happening. Here with the bases loaded, a base hit here from Joe Mauer, now in the final year of his contract, and a bit too greedy here as we tried to get 2 runs. More Maxwell Fowler. Once again, great control, keeps the pitches down and gets contact like that. A lot of very routine defensive plays. But also, he showed more strikeout potential than I expected. His K/9 rating is only a 44, but his control is so good that I now think his ceiling is even higher because he can put his pitches on the corners, he can put his breaking pitches in the perfect spots. I'm not sure many are going to swing and miss at his fastball or changeup, but he has other pitches to work with, and he looked very good in spring training. Hitters did get some success off of him. There was a lot of hard hit contact, but Fowler also got a lot of outs like this. Here's more Maxwell Fowler, slider right there on the corner, that swung on and missed. Then the slider on the inside. That's the kind of thing that makes Maxwell Fowler a very intriguing pitcher. Now we'll go to Steven Gonzales, who was also putting together an impressive spring. Good job here locating that knuckle curve. Then he gets Stanton to wave at it and miss. In this strikeout, he got Stanton to swing and miss for all 3 strikes. This time a good pitch on the corner, but laced to left field for a base hit regardless. I believe this was Christian Yelich. Back to Buxton, again driving one out to center field, showing good power here in the spring. He did not hit for high average again. I really hope that he can start to become a better contact hitter, but he showed good power at least in the spring. We're going to see more Jose Barrios, now 13 innings into his spring, an ERA around 10, and here against the St. Louis Cardinals. Again, these pitches are all very close, but he's not getting calls. It's somewhat hard to evaluate because these are calls that are normally not so one-sided, but also there were legitimate control issues outside of those pitches. I'm not sure if that's part of why he's not getting calls, because his pitches are a little all over the place. But there he does get the nice strikeout when he does locate the changeup on the outside corner. Same thing here. Good pitch on the outside, not getting the call. So he has to go back to the changeup with the full count and gets the swinging strikeout. Barrios has very high potential when it comes to being that strikeout pitcher that we're looking for, but we definitely have to work on his control to take the number of walks down. There's another take on a changeup that was very close. We go to Yadier Alvarez later. 2-2 pitch, slider swung on and missed. And in this spring, nobody showed more strikeout potential than Yadier Alvarez. Unfortunately, big fly out to right field and that gets sent over the wall. Home runs were a bit of an issue for him at the end of last season. Going through some more simming here, Chavez was doing a pretty good job on the mound and Hector Santiago having a very rough spring. Continuing on, we have a drive here from Eddie Rosario deep to center. It has a chance, but it will not exit. It's down for an extra base hit. Now we'll see our backup catcher for this year. It's Bryan Pena, a veteran who will replace Chris Jimenez. He gets a base hit into right field. Pena has good contact against righties and very high plate vision. Later against Toronto, back to Maxwell Fowler. Every time he would get a strikeout, it would somewhat surprise me because I didn't expect this to be part of his game. We drafted Gary Tadano in the 2nd round to be our strikeout pitcher, but perhaps Fowler's going to be a strikeout pitcher as well. Here is the veteran second baseman, Brandon Phillips. Nice hit down the line. Phillips still has some decent speed, and with very high contact, I expect that he'll hit toward the top of our order this season. Then Bryan Pena back up the middle. That'll bring home Phillips. And the Twins end up getting the run just in time. I was very impressed by Bryan Pena, and catcher is one of the positions in this organization I'm really working on improving. Slider on the outside, strikeout again for Maxwell Fowler. 2-2 later, ground ball to third base. Routine plays in the field and strikeouts, not many walks. That is one of his strengths. Obviously with control he can avoid the walks. But there's another strikeout. Josh Donaldson waving at a slider way outside. As a team, our pitching actually went very well in the spring, including a 16-inning game against Philadelphia. Jumping into a new game, there's a drive out to right field, a home run for Eddie Rosario. I was trying so hard to get a home run in the live stream, and we finally got one in the second stream, a lefty versus lefty, 2-run shot off David Price. I really want to see if Rosario can put together another 20-plus home run season, because his 24 last year really came out of nowhere. Here's Jake Reed on the mound, again the young 25-year-old. There's the slider as he gets Hanley Ramirez to strike out swinging. Then gets ahead later with 2 down, and gets a little soft pop-up in the infield as Phillips gloves that. And we will now move on to the rest of spring training, which was not live streamed. Still getting a good look at these young pitchers as Steven Gonzales gives up a base hit, and that brings home a run for Tampa Bay. Trying to close down the inning, there is a good knuckle curveball as he gets ahead of this batter. And Byung-Ho Park, the ex-Twin, strikes out on the slider. Unfortunately, there were not many things to cheer about in spring training regarding our offense. You'll see the numbers here soon. They were not very good for our key hitters. We lose this game 3-0, only get 3 hits in the process. Here's Miguel Sano's numbers. 190 average, no home runs, and just 2 RBIs. Sano on a pitch left up, grounded to short, and the play is made by Xander Bogaerts. Who else is struggling? Well, Eddie Rosario was only hitting 187. Sure, he had some home runs and RBIs, but he was not getting those on a consistent basis. Fly ball here, left center, easy play. On the mound this time, Yadier Alvarez. There's the slider, swung on and missed. And the broken bat. Good job here by Alvarez as he gets the out recorded. And then against Mookie Betts. Shallow pop-up, Vargas giving chase, and he loses it in the sun. So gotta try again, second chance, Betts out to center. And Byron Buxton casually records the final out of the inning. Daniel Palca, by the way, 162 average. Our best power hitters had a dreadful spring training. I don't think anybody struggled more than Daniel Palca. His plate vision is proving to be an issue, and that's now the focus of his training. Going back to Yadier Alvarez. Nice strikeout here against Hanley Ramirez, who doesn't like that fastball. Then the slider to get Jackie Bradley Jr. Alvarez had a K/9 over 10 in the spring. Back to Palca. A line drive speared by Ramirez over at first base. That was one of Palca's best swings. Then we go to Sano. That does get through, but Miguel Sano did not have a spring training home run. This is the final game of the spring. We were 12-18 going into this final game against the Rays. Jose Barrios getting a couple more innings. I wanted to see if he could at least close strong, but Yunel Escobar airmails this throw, and the error puts a runner in scoring position. Barrios does battle back as he gets the strikeout swinging here on the curveball. Then trying to save a run from scoring. Did the batter go around? No, he didn't. So he walks on to first. And we go to a 3-1 count to the next batter, who drives one out to deep right center, and that gets down for extra bases. The spring just never got better for Jose Barrios, sadly. Here's Daniel Palca in the second. Fastball up, and he can't connect on it. Then the 1-1 pops up a pitch up in the zone. Palca was not going to be our everyday DH with a performance like this. I was really disappointed. Here's Max Keppler, another player who struggled, but he does get the line drive single back through the middle. We have a lot of veterans at pitcher right now, but the young pitcher we're going to rely upon a bit more this year is Jake Reed. He had a very nice spring training and showed some good strikeout potential. Here's a sharp ground ball to third base. Easy play, throw on to first. Back to hitting, Jason Castro. You're not going to believe the average when you see it. There's a base hit to center field. He had the highest average by far in spring training. And we close things out with a few more innings of Maxwell Fowler, as he opened up with a 10-pitch at-bat against Kevin Kiermaier, which ultimately resulted in a harmless little pop-up. Then Fowler looking for the strikeouts. How about Corey Dickerson chasing a fastball up high? Then in the 7th inning, fastball on the outside corner, and a slider swung on and missed. Fowler is not messing around. Sweeping curve looked at for strike 3. He was able to work so quickly, and I never thought he'd get so many swinging strikes. Another strikeout there for Maxwell Fowler. How about one looking? Slider looked at for strike 3. Now Fowler was very good, but we're not going to rush him up to the bigs. There are still some things I want him to work on, and for such a young player who is developing, I'd still like to see him go through the minor leagues. He can develop his skills down there even further, but I don't think it'll take very long for him to make the Major League roster. He is the number 9 ranked prospect already at age 18, and I'd say there's a very good chance that he gets to play at the majors either later this season or next year on the opening day roster. We'll see how he does down at the minor leagues, and we'll go from there. A lot of baseball still to be played here in the organization. This was the final swing of spring training as the Minnesota Twins fall to the Tampa Bay Rays, and they go 12-19 in the spring. they did have a 6-game winning streak toward the end. But look at all these games where we couldn't score more than 3 runs. The offense had a terrible spring training, and we're going to see some numbers. We were tied for second to last in the Grapefruit League at 12-19. Only the Atlanta Braves were worse. We only scored 98 runs all spring. That's 3.1 a game. We only allowed, however, 3.4 a game. So our pitching was actually much better than our hitting, which is weird considering this organization. Now, our most productive hitter was Jason Castro, a .341 average. 6 home runs, that led the team. 12 RBIs, that led the team. Who else did well? John Jay, Bryan Pena, Kenny Vargas, Jorge Polanco actually impressed me in spring training, and Yadier Escobar hit .264. But Byron Buxton, .237, everybody else even further down the list. Our major strength on offense is supposed to be power hitting, but our 4 best power hitters had terrible springs. When it came to pitching, we were actually very good as a team, but Jose Barrios did not have a good spring. He averaged almost a walk per inning. He had the highest whip, the highest ERA, so I could not continue with the plans to have him be the opening day starter. Yadier Alvarez definitely flashed the strikeout potential, but was not great over his 9 1/3 innings, which was definitely a few innings too few for him. I should have gotten a much better look. But Fernando Romero did pitch 29 innings, 26 strikeouts, a 1.24 ERA. Steven Gonzales, Maxwell Fowler, also ERAs under 2. Jesse Chavez did very well, Buddy Boshears, Trevor May. Tom Wilhelmsen was pretty good, Tyler Duffy, and Jake Reed in limited innings. If we go to numbers like K per 9, you'll see here, number 1, Yadier Alvarez and Trevor May behind him. Maxwell Fowler's was a 7.8. Thought that was pretty good for him. Then in the bullpen, I had to be impressed with these numbers. Matt Belisle did not have a great spring, but everybody else did a pretty good job, ERAs under 4. Glenn Perkins returns as our closer for maybe 1 more year. We finished 29th in batting average in the spring, that's not a surprise. 27th when it came to runs. Still managed somehow to be first in doubles, and tied for 12th in home runs. We've got to find some more balance because this is not a good way to run an offense. We need some players to start hitting for average. I was not expecting our pitching to look better than our hitting after this spring training. Like I said before, our 4 best power hitters did not hit well in the spring. Daniel Palca, Max Keppler, Eddie Rosario, and Miguel Sano. All averages near or under 200. I really hope things get better in the regular season because this is not promising at all. Spring training now is over. We advance to the 2018 season. We will open at home on opening day against the Cleveland Indians, the defending AL pennant winner. They did lose the World Series to the LA Dodgers. Here is our final roster, as when I simmed to this point, it did send some players down automatically, and I wish it didn't do that. I wanted to manage that myself. So I had to call some players back up, but I did leave some players down at AAA like Jose Barrios. He didn't have a good spring. He needs to get some innings down there, along with Yadier Alvarez. So I now have the rotations and lineups finalized. Let's take a look at the 2018 Minnesota Twins organization. Opening day will feature Fernando Romero on the mound. He had the most impressive spring training out of our starting pitchers, and I wanted to give opening day to a young pitcher who can lead this rotation. Now, it did place Irvin Santana on waivers. I think he has to clear them. If that doesn't work out, I have a backup plan that you'll see. In the bullpen, Tyler Duffy, Trevor May, Tom Wilhelmsen, Jake Reed, Buddy Boshears, Ryan Presley, and Glenn Perkins. And the lineup. Byron Buxton will lead off for us with Brandon Phillips in the 2 spot. Miguel Sano, Max Keppler, Jason Castro after an amazing spring, up to 5th in the order. Yadier Escobar, you'll notice, starting at 3rd base. Yes, Miguel Sano playing DH, Jorge Polanco starting at short. That means Daniel Palca is on the bench until things get better for his offense. It's possible I may even send him down. For now, he is just on the bench with Kenny Vargas, Eduardo Escobar, John Jay, and Bryan Pena. Then at the AAA level, Yadier Alvarez, Jose Barrios, and Cole Stewart all have starting rotation potential, and we'll monitor their progress throughout the beginning of this season. At AA, Maxwell Fowler will be the ace down there, but I don't anticipate him playing there for a very long time. We'll also keep an eye on Gary Tadano and Adalberto Mejia. Here is the AAA batting order with Zach Granite and Nick Gordon, one of our top 50 prospects. Ben Paulson is down there for now, along with Lamont Wade. At AA, we have many of the rookies I drafted, including Willie Ordonez, the power-hitting first baseman. Carlos Rodriguez is there as well. And I'm very intrigued by Johnny Sandoval, who will play in center field. I have also been working on training for our roster, and I'm focused on plate vision and the hitting coach sessions for players like Daniel Palca and Miguel Sano. They are players that obviously I want to be a big part of this offense, but they've got to play better, and we'll see if they can turn things around after a tough spring. So we open against Cleveland at home. It's not going to be very easy, but we'll see opening day up next for our Minnesota Twins and get into season number 2. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this spring training video. Please leave your feedback down below in the comment section. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all when the Twins open up against Cleveland here shortly. Have a great day, and I'll see you then.